Oh, check it out. Look at a little black bear on the side of the hill. Let me get it. Look at that. Dude!
Mireya Mayor's close encounter with Bigfoot involved being followed by two enigmatic humanoids in the woods until they vanished in the torrential rain. Let's delve into this. After years of hearing the legendary tales of Bigfoot, countless adventurers have set out to find the elusive creature believed to inhabit the Pacific Northwest. Despite over 10,000 reported sightings across the United States, no one has been able to provide definitive proof of Bigfoot's existence. However, a team of researchers employing cutting-edge data algorithms and the latest technology claims to have uncovered something extraordinary, a video that could potentially verify the existence of a Bigfoot-like being. How much of this is accurate? The Expedition Bigfoot team, which includes Miami-born primatologist Mireya Mayor, survivalist Russell Accord, Bigfoot researcher Ronnie LeBlanc, host Bryce Johnson, and investigator Ryan Golombeski, captured this footage during one of their missions. This team was committed to uncovering any evidence of Bigfoot, probing deeper wherever their leads took them. Mariah, who has carved out a unique career studying primates, mentioned that she had been approached by numerous Bigfoot researchers in the past.
Isolation, these findings aren't incredibly significant.
All eager to discuss mysterious tracks and alleged evidence they had uncovered. Despite the numerous eyewitness accounts, the scientific community has remained resistant to the notion of a mythical creature hiding in the woods. This made Mariah feel that the current opportunity was a chance to advance the investigation. She emphasized that it was a fitting venture, given her expertise and understanding of the creature's behaviors and tendencies. Moreover, Mariah was particularly excited about the structure of this expedition, which united a team of specialists with varied skills focusing on a common objective. For her, it represented a fresh approach to the search for Bigfoot, and she was fully engaged in the adventure and the quest for greater knowledge about the creature. However, this is not the first time Mariah has astounded the scientific community with her rare finding, often referred to as the female Indiana Jones. She is recognized as an explorer and co-discoverer of the world's smallest primate, the mouse lemur. Yet, Mariah never envisioned herself as a television correspondent, while earning her bachelor's degrees in anthropology and English at the University of Miami, nor during her pursuit of a PhD at Stony Brook University in New York. Reflecting on her journey, she noted that her career has been anything but linear. So, where did her fascination with Bigfoot originate?
The methods that Bigfoot researchers employ out here are actually not that different from my own research.
Mariah shared that during her college years, she was a cheerleader for the Miami Dolphins and unexpectedly developed an interest in primates. This passion took her to some of the most remote regions of South America and Madagascar, where she sought out rare primates that experts had warned her were nearly impossible to find. Eventually, her love for these adventures led her to become a wildlife correspondent, a role she only attained due to her extensive fieldwork. Over her 2-decade career of pursuing elusive species, Mariah considers herself both open-minded and a curious skeptic, always allowing evidence to shape her beliefs. This skeptical approach may stem from the criticism she could face for asserting the existence of Bigfoot without solid proof. Understanding the harsh nature of mainstream science, Mariah chose to adopt a strategy that would outsmart the scientific community by using their own language: logic. In one interview, Mariah recounted experiences from her expeditions that she wouldn't have believed had she not witnessed them herself. She discussed moments caught on video that significantly shifted her views on Bigfoot. Her opinions about the creature have transformed, especially after viewing footage recorded by Russell in the wilderness. But it gets even more intriguing. Mariah shared that what she observed in the video struck her as a creature unlike any known animal. She witnessed a figure standing upright and seemingly walking on 2 legs. To her, it appeared that a large, ape-like being was residing far from its expected habitat. For Mariah, the quest for Bigfoot has always been more than merely unraveling a mystery. It's about objectively gathering evidence, even if that evidence contradicts long-established beliefs. Additionally, Mariah valued the collaboration within Expedition Bigfoot, which combined scientific knowledge with a collective determination to pursue any promising leads.
Change the feel of the expedition.
And even though they will be watching from behind the scenes,
There is a constant, present, walking reminder that you're in danger.
For both Mariah and the Expedition Bigfoot team, this was not just another myth to pursue. It was a mission that merged expertise, technology, and a genuine desire to uncover the truth. and indeed she discovered the evidence she had been seeking. Among their findings were unusual, massive tree structures. While exploring the woods, Mariah and Bryce stumbled upon a sizable tree formation that astonished them. It was an intentionally constructed, peculiar tree structure positioned in the heart of the forest, although they had seen similar formations in previous expeditions, such as in Alaska. This one was significantly larger. Mariah found it odd, while Bryce considered it remarkable. They both observed how the trees were meticulously arranged to create what resembled a shelter. Standing at 15 feet tall, it was nearly large enough to be referred to as a Bigfoot dwelling. But there was more. The apex of the structure, where all the trees converged, was intricately woven together, seemingly by someone or something with a clear understanding of the task. After a closer inspection of the tree formation, Bryce developed a theory. He was convinced that no ordinary animal could have created this. In his opinion, the structure was not something that just anyone or anything could have assembled, as it comprised approximately a dozen logs, each weighing between 150 and 200 pounds, adorned with decorative patterns. Bryce believed that the construction of this unusual formation would have required a group of individuals. Who, or what, was responsible for constructing these structures? Having encountered similar formations during their previous expeditions, Bryce and Mariah began to piece together the information. Bryce was hopeful about this new find, whereas Mariah was more cautious.
It's definitely of interest. I just really don't want to start leaping to any conclusions on it.
Despite their differing perspectives, they both agreed that this structure could be a promising site for DNA investigation. If it hadn't occurred naturally, the builders might have left behind some form of trace evidence. As they searched for potential DNA sources, Bryce contended that if the structure was man-made, it must have had a specific purpose. He speculated that the tree formation could signify a boundary for Bigfoot, possibly marking a nesting area, and here they stood right in the middle of it. Noting his enthusiasm, Mariah acknowledged his observations and admitted the structure was indeed mysterious. But she cautioned him against hasty conclusions. Mariah's approach was typical of her scientific mindset. She prioritized objectivity in her research. She dealt carefully with pseudo-scientific claims and aimed to analyze any so-called evidence with skepticism, ensuring her findings could endure scientific examination. Mariah believed that to earn credibility, they needed to communicate their work in a manner that critics would find acceptable. Consequently, she refrained from labeling unusual findings as evidence. To her, this tree structure had yet to prove anything, though it did remind her of a similar one they had encountered in Kentucky, which had yielded one of their most promising DNA samples. Understanding Mariah's viewpoint, Bryce agreed they should continue searching for additional clues. Mariah began gathering potential samples from beneath the structure, while Bryce meticulously examined the surrounding area for anything that could aid their research. The vicinity provided an abundance of samples, rekindling their hopes for the investigation, while Mariah believed isolated findings held little significance. Multiple samples from various locations and studies suggested they might be part of a larger narrative.
In isolation, these findings aren't incredibly significant.
During their exploration of the peculiar site, Bryce discovered some hair samples and eagerly called Mariah over. After collecting the samples, he expressed his excitement about sending them to the lab for DNA testing, which could reveal the origins of the different samples. Although they hadn't found any footprints in the vicinity, the structure was increasingly raising suspicions. It not only appeared unusual, but it was also surrounded by a variety of hair samples. They sent the samples to the lab, but nothing could have prepared them for the startling DNA results that awaited them. The team had submitted the samples for analysis of environmental DNA, a state-of-the-art scientific method. This eDNA, derived from genetic material left by animals in their environment, provided an innovative way to track the activities of local wildlife. Mariah saw this as a potential breakthrough, believing their scientific expedition might finally bridge one of the world's greatest legends with reality. In her view, this could shift Bigfoot from myth to something more concrete. The samples were processed by Miroslava Munguia Ramos, the project manager of the California Environmental DNA Program at UCLA. Miroslava received the various samples, including hair and soil, from Mariah's team and dedicated several months to their analysis. Her team employed a technique known as meta-barcoding, which uses software to match identified DNA sequences with thousands of published genomes. She noted that when analyzing eDNA, it was common to find human DNA, as traces of humanity are often ubiquitous. However, while reviewing the data, she stumbled upon something unexpected.
And these credible samples, if they could be tied to a specific species that's never been identified.
Herman, these credible samples could potentially lead to groundbreaking discoveries if they can be linked to an unidentified species. While human DNA was detected, Miroslava also discovered remnants of various primate DNA. Her analysis revealed that multiple primate relatives were present, including a match for pan troglodytes, the chimpanzee species. This finding was perplexing, as chimpanzees do not inhabit that area, which Miroslava described as a conundrum. She pointed out that a higher number of reeds increases their confidence in the organism's presence in the region. In this case, the chimpanzee genus showed up with an impressive 3,000 reeds. This prompted Miroslava to conclude that although eDNA technology is becoming more accurate, the collection of sufficient samples and robust evidence is essential. Only with clear data could they be sure of what they were investigating and ascertain whether it represented a new species. The analysis left her team with more questions, but also a growing sense that they were on the brink of significant discoveries. Mariah and her team also considered the implications of these findings. They were intrigued by the deliberately constructed structure that suggested both strength and planning. Such behavior is not uncommon among certain primates, known to stack rocks or twigs. However, Mariah expressed skepticism about the structure's purpose or creator, emphasizing that science should not involve speculation. Therefore, they required more DNA evidence to convincingly demonstrate to the scientific community that they had encountered a new species. Mariah was acutely aware of the challenges involved in identifying and confirming a new species. DNA evidence is paramount for acceptance in the scientific community. Despite numerous eyewitness accounts and unclear photographs of alleged Bigfoot sightings, these alone would not resolve the mystery.
And that's where we had gotten some of our most interesting DNA results.
This is where they obtained some of their most intriguing DNA results. Mariah stressed that they needed irrefutable evidence to finally put the case to rest, as the researchers awaited further analyses and prepared to collect additional samples. The prospect of an undiscovered primate species in the American wilderness felt more attainable than ever. They recognized that each step brought them closer to a discovery that could alter both scientific understanding and the narratives humans have shared for centuries. While this situation was harmless, Russell and Mariah had their own personal encounter with what they believed to be Bigfoot. After days of fruitless pursuit through dense woods, Mariah and her team decided to change their strategy. Instead of chasing the elusive creature, they opted to wait for it to approach them. To execute this plan, they needed bait, and Russell, an experienced survivalist, eagerly volunteered. Russell entered the woods while Bryce and the crew closely monitored him via cameras, tracking his every movement to ensure safety. Initially, everything appeared calm as the cameras clearly captured Russell scouting the area. However, as time passed without any sign of Bigfoot, Russell decided to delve deeper into the forest, hoping to provoke some activity. Suddenly, something emerged from behind the trees on the hill, a large shadowy figure rushing towards Russell. This was not Mariah or any other team member. It was an unknown entity charging in his direction. Immediately, Bryce and the team contacted Russell to inform him about the creature's presence. Russell requested their assistance, admitting he could hardly see anything. The crew informed him that the creature was approaching from the east, approximately 50 yards away, and closing in rapidly.
Hey Russ, we see a target making its way towards you, and it is moving, man.
Are we looking downhill, uphill, or in front of me in the direction I'm moving? Guide me.
It is to your east, probably about 50 yards, and moving in.
Russell strained to get a better look, but the dense woods severely limited his visibility. The sounds around him began to shift. It was evident that something substantial had been nearby, leaving broken branches and footprints. Then came the smell, a distinct odor Russell recognized immediately. It was the same overpowering scent they had encountered on their previous trip to Alaska. He realized he was in Bigfoot's domain. As he approached the location Bryce had indicated, the noises grew increasingly peculiar. Heavy footsteps and soft rustling filled the air, intensifying with each step he took. However, Russell was resolute and pressed forward, concentrating on the unusual sounds that were guiding him. Suddenly, he heard the sharp crack of a branch snapping about 100 yards away. He radioed Bryce to ask how close he was to the creature. Bryce replied that if Russell continued on his current path, he would soon intersect with it. Determined, Russell headed in that direction, eager for a clear view of Bigfoot. On the opposite side of the mountain, Mariah was tracking another lead. Bryce had detected a heat signature on his equipment and was directing her toward it. The woods were engulfed in darkness, and heavy rain made visibility nearly impossible. Mariah had to primarily rely on Bryce's instructions to navigate through the trees. As she approached the area Bryce had marked, something unexpected occurred. There were now 2 heat signatures instead of 1, but the dense fog and rain were hampering their surveillance equipment, complicating Bryce's efforts to track them. He advised Mariah to keep moving forward, suggesting she would likely encounter one of the figures soon. Despite the treacherous conditions, Mariah adhered to Bryce's directions, knowing that one of the targets had already vanished from their radar. Yet, she found herself heading directly toward the last known location of the remaining creature.
Problem is all the elements are really working against us right now. This is incredibly steep, it's slippery, and we can't really hear as things move through the forest because of all the rain and the hail.
Armed with a flashlight, Mariah scanned her surroundings, hoping to catch even the faintest hint of movement in the darkness. But everything seemed to conspire against her. The steep, slick ground, the relentless rain, and the noise it generated rendered her nearly blind and unable to hear anything clearly. As time went on, Mariah and Russell remained vigilant, on the lookout for any signs of Bigfoot. Yet, each time they felt they were getting closer, the creature seemed to disappear, almost as if it could sense their approach and melted away into the darkness, evading any possibility of direct contact. Despite their relentless efforts, the elusive Bigfoot always stayed just out of reach. Although Mariah was disappointed to miss the creature yet again, she was completely unprepared for what was about to unfold. Bigfoot caught on camera. During one of their outings, Mariah and the Expedition Bigfoot team were pursuing a lead on a potential Bigfoot sighting. They had fanned out across the forest to cover as much area as possible. Russell was diligently scanning his designated section, peering through the lens of his camera. While he was surveying the landscape, a figure caught his attention. At first glance, he thought it was a bear, a common sight in the region due to its blackish-brown fur. But then, the unexpected happened. This bear did something no bear that Mariah and her team were familiar with would do. It rose up on 2 legs and vanished into the woods. Russell's eyes widened in disbelief as he turned to his partner, Zach.
Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up.
Even after reviewing the footage, he struggled to comprehend what he had witnessed. The creature he had mistaken for a bear had walked on 2 legs, as if it had been crouching and observing its surroundings, or perhaps even watching Russell and his team. While bears can occasionally stand on 2 legs, they typically do not do so with the balance and control he had just observed. Fueled by curiosity, Russell decided to zoom in on the area again, hoping the creature might reappear. He adjusted his camera, eager for another sighting, but the creature had vanished, leaving no trace behind. Thrilled by what he had just filmed, Russell felt compelled to share his discovery with the entire crew. This was significant, potentially crucial for their investigation. Wasting no time, he called everyone back to their base camp. When they assembled, anticipation filled the air as they wondered what had prompted Russell's urgent summons. Once they were gathered, Russell played the video, eager to see their reactions to the strange creature he had captured on film. As everyone watched intently, Russell recounted what he had seen. He explained how he had been scanning the area with his telescope, spanning a mile of hillside. Initially, he thought he was observing a bear, but as the video progressed, he urged them to pay close attention. "Take a look at this," he said, slowing the footage for a clearer view. The crew leaned in, captivated. Mariah, who was known for her scientific rigor and keen attention to detail, was stunned by what she saw. For a moment, they all felt they were on the brink of uncovering something truly extraordinary. As the video played at a slower speed, Russell replayed the moment when the creature stood on 2 feet and walked away.
Watch this.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Mariah and Bryce, who were both somewhat knowledgeable about Bigfoot compared to the rest of the team, exchanged knowing looks. For them, it was evident that this was something extraordinary. It couldn't simply be a bear. They observed the creature's head moving as it scanned its surroundings before walking off. Mariah, with her trained perspective, found this aspect particularly intriguing. The creature's movement and the balance it maintained struck her as unusual. She noted that it moved vertically, from head to ground, something she knew bears were incapable of doing. It wasn't just the movement itself. The behavior also stood out to her. No animal she could think of in that region exhibited such behavior. This was a significant discovery for the entire team. As Mariah continued to watch the video, her conviction grew stronger. Given their knowledge of local wildlife, she struggled to identify any other creature that would act in such a manner. To her, the footage suggested the very existence of what they had been searching for. The creature was covered in hair, stood upright, and moved in a way that didn't resemble any typical bear or known animal. Russell's discovery felt like a major advancement for the team. They hadn't anticipated uncovering something like this, and as they replayed the clip multiple times, they began to realize that they might have captured evidence that could revolutionize their research.